The stars shone bright against the endless black of space as Lisa Carter stared out the viewport of the massive alien ship. She had been aboard the celestial vessel for 3 months now, the only human among the tall, elegant beings known as the Valerans. Their iridescent skin sparkled under the ship lights as they moved with grace despite being nearly 7 feet tall. Lisa was not supposed to stay this long. She came as part of a diplomatic mission representing Earth in the newly formed Galactic Alliance. Her assignment was simple: deliver messages from Earth leaders, attend ceremonial events, and return home in 6 weeks. But the Valaran Queen had other plans. The door to her quarters slid open with a soft hum. Lisa turned to see Nira, standing in the doorway. Her lavender skin glowed softly in the dimmed light of the room. Her large almond-shaped eyes were completely silver without pupils, yet somehow Lisa knew Nira was studying her intently. "The council requests your presence." Nira said, her voice musical and smooth. Lisa nodded, straightening her uniform. Although given comfortable quarters and treated with respect, she sometimes felt more like a specimen than an ambassador. The Valerans watched her, constantly taking notes on her behavior, her speech patterns, even her physical responses to their environment. She followed Nira through the organic corridors of the ship. The walls pulsed with faint light, responding to their presence. The floor seemed to adjust to her shorter, human stride, making walking alongside the much taller Nira comfortable. The Valaran technology was centuries beyond what humans had achieved. Their ships were partially alive, grown, rather than built, adapting to the needs of those within them. Lisa had sent detailed reports back to Earth before communications mysteriously stopped working 2 months ago. The great hall opened before them, a vast chamber with a ceiling that displayed the stars they passed in real time. 7 Valaran elders sat in a semicircle, their robes flowing like liquid silver. They were the ruling council beneath the queen herself. Lisa approached and bowed as she had been taught. The eldest of Valoran, with skin that had faded to pale blue with age, nodded in acknowledgement. "Lisa, of Earth, we have observed your adaptation to our environment." The eldest spoke. Her species always used single names, considering human, last names unnecessary. "Your resilience is remarkable." "Thank you, Elder," Lisa replied, careful to keep her tone respectful, yet confident. Showing weakness was not advisable among the Valerans. They respected strength above all else. "We have decided to extend your stay," the eldest continued. "You will participate in the Celestial Communion." Lisa felt her heart rate increase. The Celestial Communion was mentioned in her briefing materials, but details were scarce. Earth scientists believed it to be some sort of cultural ceremony, but the Valerans refused to explain it to outsiders. "May I ask what this involves?" Lisa said, keeping her voice steady. The eldest tilted her head in what Lisa had come to recognize as amusement. "You may ask, but understanding would be beyond your species' current development. It is an honor rarely extended to non-Valerans. You will be the first human to experience it." Lisa knew a diplomatic response was expected. "I appreciate the honor, but my mission parameters require me to return to Earth soon. My government will be concerned by my extended absence." The eldest made a gesture with her long fingers, dismissing the concern. "Your government agreed to full cultural exchange. Our scientists have determined you are uniquely compatible with our biological systems. The decision has been made." Lisa felt a chill run through her body. The phrasing suggested something beyond a simple ceremony. She had noticed the Valerans taking particular interest in her medical scans. The ship doctor had taken multiple blood samples, always explaining it was to ensure the ship environment was not harming. "Her Nira will prepare you for the communion," the eldest said, ending the audience with a wave of her hand. Lisa followed Nira from the chamber, her mind racing with questions and concerns. Once they were alone in the preparation room, she turned to Nira, who had become something of a guide during her stay. "What exactly is this communion?" Lisa asked. "What do they mean by compatible?" Nira began removing ceremonial garments from a storage unit. Her movements were fluid, almost hypnotic, as she laid out the shimmering fabrics on a raised platform. "The celestial communion occurs when our 3 moons align with our homeworld," Nira explained. It is a time of renewal of continuation for our species. She paused, looking directly at Lisa. Our population has been declining for centuries. We need genetic diversity to survive. Lisa took a step back as understanding dawned. You want to use me for breeding? Your species has interesting genetic adaptability, Nira said, as if discussing something mundane. Your reproductive systems are compatible with many humanoid species, including ours. Our scientists confirmed this when you first arrived. Is that why communications with Earth stopped working? Lisa asked, anger rising in her voice. You never intended to. Let me leave. Nira tilted her head. That decision came from the Queen herself. She sensed something in you when you arrived. Something special. She approached Lisa, moving with that inhuman grace. Your offspring will be honored above all others. The first human Valoran child. Lisa backed away, her mind racing through escape options. The ship was enormous with thousands of Valorans aboard. Even if she could reach the shuttle bay, she had no idea how to operate their technology. The communion is not what you fear, Nira said softly. We do not force bond. Our ways require consent, but the Queen believes you will consent once you understand the honor being offered. Lisa straightened her shoulders. I need to speak with my superiors on Earth. This goes beyond diplomatic agreements. Nira nodded unexpectedly. The Queen anticipated this reaction. She will speak with you herself before the communion, but first you must be prepared. The ceremony begins when we reach orbit around Valara Prime in 6 hours. The preparation was elaborate. Lisa was bathed in scented waters that left her skin tingling with strange energy. Her uniform was replaced with flowing garments that seemed to move with a life of their own, changing colors subtly with her emotions. The fabric was unlike anything on Earth, responsive to her body temperature and thoughts. Throughout the process, Nira explained Valaran culture, their beliefs about reproduction and genetic bonding. Their species reproduced rarely, only during specific celestial alignments. They valued genetic diversity, seeking compatible species to strengthen their declining population. You are not chosen randomly, Nira explained, as she wove small luminescent flowers into Lisa's hair. Your genetic tests showed rare markers. Our scientists believe your DNA contains elements that could help our species overcome reproductive challenges. Lisa tried to process this information. The diplomatic briefing had mentioned nothing about genetic testing or breeding programs. Had Earth known? Was this the real reason she was selected for the mission? She had been chosen above more experienced diplomats, her background in biology cited as useful for understanding alien cultures. A soft chime sounded throughout the room. The Queen arrives, Nira said, her voice filled with reverence. The door slid open, revealing the Valaran Queen. She stood nearly 8 feet tall, her skin shimmering with patterns of light that seemed to move beneath the surface. Her eyes were not silver like the others, but a deep violet that caught the light like gemstones. Her presence filled the room with palpable energy. Lisa found herself kneeling without conscious thought. The Queen radiated power and authority unlike anyone she had ever encountered. Rise, human. The Queen's voice resonated in Lisa's mind rather than through the air, a sign of her powerful telepathic abilities unique among her kind. Lisa stood, meeting the Queen's gaze despite the intimidating height difference. Your Majesty, I must protest this situation. I was sent as a diplomat, not as... You were sent as a beginning. The Queen interrupted. Her physical voice when she spoke aloud was rich and multi-layered. The first step toward true alliance between our peoples. Your leaders knew more than you realize. The Queen moved forward with fluid grace, her robes flowing around her like water. I have watched you since your arrival. Your adaptability, your courage, your curiosity. These are traits our species once possessed, in abundance, but have diminished over millennia. Lisa felt the Queen's presence in her mind, gentle but unmistakable, not reading her thoughts, but sensing her emotions, her fears, her anger. You fear we will use you and discard you. The Queen said, This is not our way. The child you will bear will bond us forever. You will be honored as the mother of a new lineage, neither prisoner nor subject. But partner Lisa struggled to maintain her composure. You speak of honor, but you removed my ability to communicate. With my people you extended my mission without consultation. These are not the actions of respectful partners. The Queen smiled, revealing teeth that were slightly sharper than human norm. Your observations are valid. We have moved according to our understanding of necessity. Your species moves slowly through discussion and debate. Time we do not have. Before Lisa could respond, the ship shuddered slightly, entering orbit around a beautiful blue-green world visible now through the viewports of the Chamber Valara Prime, the homeworld. The time approaches, the Queen said. Our moons align soon. You will understand better when you see our world, when you experience our ways. If after the welcoming ceremony, you still wish to contact your world, we will permit it. Lisa recognized the diplomatic compromise. But I do not consent to any genetic bonding regardless of ceremonies or welcomings. The Queen's expression remained serene. We ask only that you observe. The council chamber hushed as Lisa entered, every Valoran eye tracking her movement. The Queen sat upon her living throne, a structure that seemed part chair, part plant that responded to her presence. The violet eyes of the monarch fixed on Lisa. With unnerving intensity, you have spoken with your leaders, the Queen stated, rather than asked. Yes, Your Majesty. Lisa replied, keeping her voice steady, despite her inner turmoil. And what guidance did they offer? The Queen's voice carried throughout the chamber without seeming to rise above a conversational tone. Lisa chose her next words carefully. She would not reveal the full betrayal of her government, but neither would she pretend ignorance. Earth has extended my mission for 1 year as you requested. They believe a strong alliance between our worlds benefits both species. The Queen made a gesture that caused patterns of light to ripple across her skin. An expression Lisa had learned indicated satisfaction. Yet I sense conflict within you, Decision troubles your spirit, Lisa straightened. Meeting the Queen's gaze directly, I was not informed of the true purpose of my mission. Your Majesty, neither my government nor yours was forthcoming about the genetic compatibility research. Murmurs rippled through the council chamber. The Valarans unused to such direct confrontation of their monarch. Prince Karam shifted slightly his posture, suggesting concern, but the Queen merely tilted her head, her expression unreadable. Truth serves highest purpose, the Queen replied after a moment. Your observations are valid, Ambassador. Our methods followed protocols established with other species. We did not adequately account for human expectations regarding information sharing. This admission surprised Lisa. The Queen rarely acknowledged error of any kind. The genetic salvation of our species requires compatible donors, Prince Karam added, stepping forward. Our scientists confirmed your unique compatibility, but we should have explained our hopes more clearly from the beginning. Lisa appreciated the acknowledgement, but it did little to change her situation. Caught between duty to Earth, the fate of the Valarans, and her own autonomy, she needed to establish some control over her circumstances. Have conditions, Lisa said, her voice stronger than she felt. If I am to remain on Valara Prime for 1 year, if I am to consider participation in your genetic program, the council chamber grew utterly silent. The concept of a human setting conditions. Before the Queen was unprecedented, Elder Torin, the genetic researcher, looked particularly affronted, his skin darkening with what Lisa had learned to recognize as disapproval. The Queen, however, leaned forward with interest. Name these conditions. Ambassador Lisa took a deep breath. I require complete information about the genetic procedure, the exact nature of my participation, and all potential consequences to my health and future. I need regular, unrestricted communication with Earth. Not just when satellite arrays align. I want access to all information gathered about human genetics, including my own. And she paused, gathering courage. I want the right to leave at any time should I choose, regardless of procedure status. The council erupted in disharmonious tones. The Valaran equivalent of shouting, Elder Torin stepped forward, his tall form vibrating with intensity. Impossible. The genetics require commitment. The resonance bond, once initiated, cannot be severed without harm. The Queen raised a hand, silencing the council, her violet eyes never leaving. Lisa, your conditions speak to wisdom, Ambassador, she said, her voice calm. The right to knowledge is fundamental. The right to communication reasonable. The right to bodily sovereignty sacred. She rose from her throne, her full height imposing yet somehow less threatening than before. We accept these conditions, Elder Toran began to protest, but the Queen silenced him with a gesture. Preparation will require 1 lunar cycle, the Queen continued. During this time you will learn all aspects of the procedure. You will communicate with your world as needed. You will study the history of our genetic decline to understand fully what is at stake. And she stepped down from the dais, approaching. Lisa, you will know the truth of what we ask, not merely the science, but the meaning. The Queen towered over Lisa. Yet for the first time the human felt they were meeting as equals, not as monarch and subject, but as representatives of species seeking mutual survival. Prince Karam will oversee your education. The Queen declared he bears responsibility for your comfort and understanding. During the preparation cycle you may access any area of the palace, any knowledge we possess. The truth must illuminate. Your choice. The formal audience concluded. Lisa found herself escorted not back to her quarters but to an entirely new wing of the palace spaces that shifted and changed as she entered, adapting to human proportions, human needs. The level of consideration suggested the Valorans had been preparing these accommodations for some time. Prince Karam accompanied her, his long strides slowed to match her pace. My mother values your courage, he said as they walked. The directness of your address impressed the council. Few speak to the Queen with such honesty. Lisa glanced up at him. Your people value hierarchy, don't they? The social structure seems rigid. The prince made a gesture Lisa didn't recognize, perhaps indicating nuance. Our social organization evolved. From necessity, efficiency, and decision-making prevented conflicts that might have destroyed us during our early development. But he paused as if considering something new. Perhaps we have become too rigid, too predictable. This contributes to our genetic stagnation. They reached what appeared to be a library, though unlike any on Earth. The walls themselves displayed information responding to thought and touch. Holographic images floated in the air showing Valaran history, genetic structures, and evolutionary paths. Your education begins here. Prince Karam indicated the space. This contains our complete genetic history, from our earliest evolution to our current crisis. Lisa approached a floating image that showed Valaran DNA structure compared to other species, including human. The differences and similarities highlighted in pulsing light. The complexity was beautiful but also daunting. I won't understand all of this, Lisa admitted. I'm not a geneticist. The prince nodded. Information adapts to the learner. The library will sense your level of understanding and present accordingly. Nira will assist with translation of concepts that have no human equivalent. Lisa turned to face the prince, her professional diplomacy momentarily set aside by genuine curiosity. Why me truly? What makes my genetics special when billions of humans exist? Prince Karam gestured to a floating display which immediately changed, showing a complex genetic map with certain sections highlighted in bright colors. Most species follow predictable evolutionary paths. He explained genetic changes occur in response to environmental pressures over millennia. But humans, he indicated a particularly chaotic section of the display. Humans evolved with unusual speed. Your adaptations occur not just over generations but within individual lifetimes. Your epigenetics, your neural plasticity, your immune responses, all show flexibility that defies normal evolutionary patterns. The display shifted, showing Lisa's genetic structure, alongside standard human markers. And you specifically, Prince Karam continued. You carry markers from multiple human genetic lineages, unusually diverse even for your species. But more importantly, he indicated a particular sequence that pulsed with bright light. You carry a specific mutation in your stem cell regulation. That mutation mirrors an ancient Valaran trait, one our species lost through selective breeding for intelligence and longevity. Our ancestors called it the quickening gene. It allows for rapid adaptation, cellular regeneration, and genetic stability during hybridization. Lisa studied the display. This one gene makes me compatible. The prince shook his head. Not alone. Many factors combine. But this gene is the keystone without it. Genetic exchange would fail or produce offspring with fatal instabilities. With it, a child of both worlds becomes possible, a bridge between species. The next weeks passed in intense education. Lisa learned more about genetics than she had thought possible. The Valarans shared everything as promised: their history of genetic manipulation, their rise to intellectual and technological superiority, their gradual loss of variation as traits deemed undesirable, were bred out of the population, the catastrophic collapse that occurred when they attempted artificial genetic intervention. The slow realization that their species was dying not from disease or conflict, but from genetic perfection that left no room for adaptation. Regular communications with Earth revealed little interest from her superiors in her educational progress. They cared only about maintaining relations, ensuring access to Valaran technology. Lisa began to realize she was truly alone in this decision. No one on Earth fully understood or perhaps cared about her personal struggle. Prince Karim proved a dedicated teacher, his knowledge vast, his patience endless. As weeks passed, Lisa found herself looking forward to their sessions, their conversations extending beyond genetics to philosophy, art, cultural exchange. The prince showed genuine interest in human perspectives, offering Valaran viewpoints in return. A true cultural exchange emerged between them. "You adapt quickly to new knowledge," the prince observed one evening, as they walked through the crystal gardens now familiar to Lisa. "The patterns you recognize, the connections you draw. Your mind works differently than ours, less linear, more intuitive." The shuttle descended through the atmosphere of Valara Prime in complete silence. The Valaran technology eliminated the turbulence and noise Lisa had experienced in human spacecraft. Instead, she felt as though she were floating down on a gentle current of air. The view was breathtaking. 3 moons visible in the daytime sky, growing closer to alignment with each passing hour beside her. Nira watched her reactions with obvious interest. The Valarans seemed endlessly fascinated by human emotional responses. While they experienced emotions themselves, they expressed them differently, more subtly, through slight changes in their skin. Luminescence rather than facial expressions. The capital city spread below them, a marvel of organic architecture. Buildings that seemed to grow from the earth itself spiraled upward in impossible patterns, shimmering with the same iridescent quality as Valaran skin streets, flowed like rivers between structures with no straight lines anywhere Lisa could see. The royal palace stood at the city center, a massive structure that resembled a blooming flower, its petals stretching skyward. The shuttle landed on a platform extending from one of these petals. "You are the first human to walk on our world," the queen said as the shuttle doors opened. "The air will feel rich to your lungs." Breathe slowly. At first, Lisa stepped onto Valaran soil. The gravity was slightly stronger than Earth, making her movements feel heavier. The air was indeed richer, sweeter somehow, filling her lungs with energy. The welcome drink had prepared her body, preventing any discomfort from the transition. Valaran citizens lined the pathway from the landing platform to the palace. Their tall forms bowed slightly as the queen passed, but their silver eyes remained fixed on Lisa. Murmurs rippled through the crowd in the musical language Lisa had been learning during her time on the ship. "They say you glow with potential." Nira translated, walking close beside Lisa. "They can sense your compatibility." Lisa kept her expression neutral, unsure how to respond to being discussed like a prized breeding specimen. Instead, she focused on diplomatic observation, noting details about Valaran society that might be useful in reports if she ever returned to Earth. The citizens wore clothing that reflected their social standing, with the most elaborate designs nearest to the queen. The architecture up close was even more impressive, buildings that responded to touch and seemed to breathe with the people inside them. The palace interior opened before them, a vast chamber with a ceiling that captured the sky above. The 3 moons were visible through the transparent dome, their positions marking the passing hours toward alignment. "The welcome feast awaits," the queen announced. "The communion preparations will begin afterward." The feast was elaborate, foods and colors Lisa had never seen before, arranged in patterns that seemed to tell stories. The Valorans ate little themselves, their species requiring minimal sustenance, but they had prepared Earth foods as well, recognizing her different needs as honored guest. "You sit at my right hand," the Queen gestured to an elevated chair beside her own. The chair adjusted as Lisa sat, conforming perfectly to her human proportions. Throughout the meal, various Valoran dignitaries approached offering formal greetings. Lisa responded with the ceremonial phrases Nira had taught her. She felt like an actor in an elaborate play, one where she didn't fully understand her role. One Valoran approached differently than the others. His skin was deeper blue than most, with patterns that suggested advanced age. He bowed before the Queen, then fixed his gaze on Lisa. "This is Elder Toran," the Queen introduced him. "He leads our genetic research." Lisa tensed at this confirmation of her suspicions. She had been brought here for her genetics, not for diplomacy. "Your species fascinates us." Elder Toran said, his voice rough compared to the musical tones of other Valorans. "So adaptable, so varied. You evolve faster than any species we have encountered. Is that why I'm here?" Lisa asked directly. "For research." The Elder tilted his head. "Research is too simple a word. What we seek is salvation." His silver eyes seemed to glow with intensity. "Our species faces extinction. Without genetic diversity, without the adaptive traits your kind possesses, we will fade from the galaxy within 10 generations. The Queen made a subtle gesture and the Elder bowed, retreating from the conversation. But the truth had been spoken. Lisa's presence was more significant than simple diplomacy. As the feast concluded, the three moons drew closer to alignment, visible through the palace dome. Their light combined, creating strange patterns. On the floor of the Great Hall, the preparations begin, the Queen announced, rising from her seat. "The Elder Council will guide you." The Queen focused her violet eyes on Lisa. "The choice remains yours, but witness our ways before deciding." Lisa was led from the feast hall by Nira and two other female Valorans. Their formal demeanor had shifted, becoming more reverent as the moons approached alignment. They brought her to a chamber deep within the palace, where steam rose from pools of shimmering liquid. "The cleansing begins here," Nira explained. "Each pool prepares your body for the next stage. The process is the same for all who participate in communion." Lisa hesitated at the edge of the first pool. "I still haven't agreed to participate." Nira nodded. "The cleansing is required for all who enter the sacred chamber, communion participant or witness. The pools contain no reproductive elements, merely purifiers and protectors." Lisa considered her options. Refusing now would create a diplomatic incident. She could go through the preparations while maintaining her right to refuse the actual communion, whatever that entailed. She slipped into the first pool. The liquid was warm, enveloping her body with pleasant, tingling sensations. She could feel it, penetrating her skin, cleaning her at a cellular level. The experience was unlike anything on Earth, as if the liquid was communicating with her body, asking permission before cleansing each system. Through 3 pools, she progressed, each with different properties, different sensations. When she emerged from the final bath, her skin glowed faintly like the Valorans, though, with a pinkish hue rather than their blue luminescence. Ceremonial garments awaited her, flowing robes that changed color, with her emotions currently shifting between deep purple uncertainty and flashes of red anxiety. The fabric adjusted to her body temperature, cooling when she felt warm, warming when she felt cool. "Lisa of Earth." "The time approaches," a new voice announced. Elder Lisa had not met before, stood in the doorway. Her robes marked her as one of the council, but with additional symbols Lisa did not recognize. "I am Elder Celine." The Valaran explained, "I oversee the communion. This cycle." The name sounded almost human, surprising Lisa, who had struggled with Valaran pronunciation. "I chose a name your tongue can speak easily." "Elder," Celine said, noting Lisa's reaction. "I have studied your species longer than most. I requested to oversee your participation." Lisa straightened her shoulders. "I haven't agreed to participate. Only to observe." Elder Celine made a gesture Lisa had learned meant acknowledgement. "I understand. Your presence alone honors us." Even as witness, you bring new perspective to our sacred rites. Lisa followed. Elder Celine through corridors that descended deeper into the palace. The walls here were ancient, carved with symbols and histories of the Valaran people. They told a story of a once vast empire that had gradually contracted as their population declined. Our ancestors spread across 12 star systems. Elder Celine explained, noting Lisa's interest in the carvings. Now we maintain only 3. The price of genetic stagnation. They reached a vast circular chamber directly beneath the palace dome. Above them, the 3 moons were visible now, almost in perfect alignment. Their combined light shone down into the chamber, illuminating a central platform surrounded by concentric circles of seated Valarans. The sacred chamber, Elder Celine announced. Those in the inner circles are compatible matches identified through genetic testing. Those in outer circles are witnesses. The queen awaits at the center. Lisa observed the arrangement. The inner circles contained perhaps 50 Valarans, their skin glowing more intensely than those seated farther away. The queen sat on an elevated throne at the chamber's center. Her violet eyes found Lisa immediately. A seat awaits you. Elder Celine indicated a place in the second circle. If you choose to observe. Only you may sit in the outer ring. Lisa noticed the seat in the second circle was directly across from a male Valaran, whose skin glowed with unusual intensity. His eyes, when they met hers, were not silver, but a deep blue, similar to the queen's violet. A sign of royal lineage, Prince Karam, the queen's son, Elder Celine explained, following Lisa's gaze. His genetic compatibility with you is highest among our people. Lisa felt her heart rate increase. This was moving beyond observation toward expectation. She made her decision quickly. I will observe from the outer ring, she said firmly. Elder Celine showed no reaction, but escorted Lisa to a seat in the furthest circle. From this position, she could see the entire ceremony while making her position clear. She would not participate. The alignment approaches, Elder Celine announced, returning to the center. The communion begins. The chamber filled with harmonic sounds as the Valarans began to hum in perfect resonance. The vibrations seemed to pass through Lisa's body, making her skin tingle with strange energy. The 3 moons above moved into perfect alignment, their combined light focusing through the dome into the chamber center. Morning came to Valara Prime with the light of 2 suns rising over the horizon. The 3rd sun would appear later, creating the unique triple daylight that nourished Valaran plant life. Lisa stood on the balcony of her palace quarters, watching the alien world awaken. The events of the previous night still played in her mind. The beauty of the communion ceremony, the desperation of a species facing extinction, and her own unexpected role in their salvation. A soft chime announced a visitor. Lisa turned to see Nira entering with a tray of morning sustenance. You watched the entire ceremony. Nira observed, placing the tray on a small table that grew from the floor in response to her presence. Most visitors find the intensity overwhelming. Lisa selected a fruit that resembled a peach but with blue flesh. It tasted like honey and cinnamon with something else she couldn't identify. The queen has authorized communication with your world. Nira continued. The array will align with Earth satellites in 3 hours. Lisa nodded, grateful for this concession. What happens after I make contact? Nira tilted her head, a gesture Lisa had come to recognize as contemplation. That depends on your decision. The diplomatic exchange continues regardless. But the queen hopes you will consider Prince Karam's offer. Lisa felt frustration rising. I was sent here as an ambassador, not a genetic donor. Your people should have been honest about your intentions from the beginning. Nira seemed to shrink slightly, her skin dimming. Would your leaders have sent you if they knew? Would you have come? The question gave Lisa pause. Earth was desperate for advanced technology, especially in medicine and sustainable energy. The Valarans offered solutions to problems humans had struggled with for centuries. Would her government sacrifice one diplomat for such knowledge? She suspected she knew the answer. The prince requests your company in the royal gardens, Nira said, changing the subject. The growing light makes the crystal flowers bloom. It is a sight few outsiders have witnessed. Lisa considered refusing, wanting to maintain diplomatic distance after the revelations of the previous night. But understanding Valaran culture remained her mission regardless. Of their hidden agenda, I will join him, she agreed. The royal gardens were unlike anything on Earth. The plants responded to movement, shifting to follow visitors as they passed. Crystal formations grew among the vegetation, catching the light of the triple suns and refracting it in dazzling patterns. Plants that resembled trees stretched upward, their branches moving like tentacles, their leaves opening and closing in rhythm with some unheard music. Prince Karam waited beside a pool where liquid, that might have been water but glowed with internal light, flowed in impossible patterns, defying gravity, climbing upward before falling again. His tall form was draped in simpler garments than the ceremonial attire of the previous night. He looked more approachable, less alien. You slept well? The prince asked, though his tone suggested he already knew the answer. The Valaran's subtle telepathy remained unsettling to Lisa. The royal family especially seemed able to sense her emotional state without effort. Well enough, she replied diplomatically. I understand you'll be able to contact Earth soon. The prince nodded. Our array aligns briefly with your communication satellites. The connection will last perhaps 30 of your minutes. He gestured to the garden path. Walk with me. There is much you should understand before you speak with your leaders. Lisa fell into step beside him. Though he towered over her by nearly 2 feet, the prince adjusted his stride to match hers, a courtesy she appreciated. What? You saw last night the genetic communion. It is the culmination of centuries of research. Prince Karam explained. Our species once reproduced as yours does physically, but we evolved beyond that necessity. Our genetic exchange became an energy transfer, a resonance between compatible individuals. They passed through an archway formed by intertwining plants that moved aside as they approached. But this evolution became our weakness. The prince continued. We gained longevity, intelligence, technological advancement, but we lost adaptability, variation, mutation, the building blocks of species survival. He stopped beside a plant with flowers that opened as they approached, revealing centers that glowed with changing colors. We became too similar. Our genetics too refined. Lisa watched the flowers pulse with light mirroring the luminescence of Valaran skin. Your species is the opposite, the prince said. Your kind embraces variation, celebrates difference. Human genetics contain more diversity within a single planet than most species maintain across entire star systems. It makes you remarkably adaptable. Lisa considered his words. Human history was filled with conflict, driven partly by those very differences the prince now celebrated as strengths. The Queen believes your genetic structure is uniquely compatible with our own. Prince Karam continued. Not just human genetics, but yours specifically. The tests performed during your quarantine period confirmed? Lisa frowned. I was never told about genetic tests. The prince had the grace to look apologetic by human standards, his skin dimming slightly. It was necessary to confirm compatibility before raising the possibility. The disappointment would have been too great otherwise. They reached a clearing where crystal formations rose from the ground like transparent sculptures. Inside each crystal, different colored lights pulsed and flowed. You mentioned quarantine. Lisa said, that was never explained to me either. All visitors to Valaran ships undergo quarantine. The prince replied. Standard procedure for biosecurity. But yours was extended to allow for more detailed analysis. Lisa felt her anger rising again. So many half-truths and omissions. She had been naive to trust the diplomatic language, the courtesies that masked the Valaran's true intentions. And if I refuse to participate in your genetic program, what then? Prince Karam turned to face her, his height forcing Lisa to look up to meet his gaze. You will return to Earth as planned. Your diplomatic mission will be considered complete. The knowledge exchange will continue. The alliance will proceed. But he paused, his skin darkening. Our species will likely continue its decline. Within 10 generations. The Valaran people will exist only in galactic records. The weight of his words settled over Lisa. The extinction of an entire sentient species weighed against her personal autonomy, her individual choice. It seemed an impossible ethical equation. Why me? Lisa asked. Why not approach? Earth openly request volunteers. There must be others with compatible genetics. The prince shook his head. The compatibility we seek is exceptionally rare. Our scientists tested thousands of human genetic samples before finding yours, among all humans. You alone carry the specific markers we need. Lisa frowned. Where did you get thousands of human genetic samples? The prince gestured dismissively. Trade agreements, medical exchanges, various diplomatic missions. Our people have interacted with yours for decades, gathering data, preparing for this moment. This revelation was disturbing. The Valorans had been planning this for longer than humans had known of their existence. Their seemingly benevolent interactions concealed a more calculated agenda. The communication chamber is prepared, Nira announced, approaching from a side path. The array aligns in 20 minutes. Prince Karam nodded. You should prepare your thoughts, Ambassador. The words you speak to your leaders will shape the future of both our peoples. Lisa followed Nira through the garden back toward the palace. Her mind raced. What would she tell her superiors? Would they order her to comply for the sake of technological exchange? Would they demand her immediate return, risking diplomatic incident? Would they even care about her individual rights weighed against potential benefits for humanity? The communication chamber was a small room deep within the palace. A single chair faced a curved wall that currently showed only darkness. Nira gestured for Lisa to sit. The array requires precise alignment, she explained. You will see your Earth contact when connection is established. You have 26 minutes once connected. Nira left Lisa alone with her thoughts. The chair adjusted to her form, providing perfect comfort despite being designed for Valoran physiology. Everything in their world was adaptive, responsive, intelligent, much like the species itself. The wall before her flickered, then resolved into an image Lisa recognized. Director Samantha Wells of the Diplomatic Corps, her superior on Earth. The woman looked concerned, her normally immaculate appearance showing signs of stress. Ambassador Carter, the connection is unstable but functional. Director Wells spoke, her voice slightly distorted. Can you hear me? Yes, Director, Lisa replied, relief flooding through her at seeing a human face, hearing an unmodulated human voice. I can hear you. We lost contact 2 months ago, Director Wells said. Your scheduled reports stopped. We feared the worst. I'm alive and well, Lisa assured her. But my situation has become complicated. She hesitated, unsure how much to reveal about Valaran intentions. The communication was surely monitored. Complicated, how Director Wells pressed. The Valarans extended my mission. Lisa began choosing her words carefully. They have special interest in human-Valaran relations. They believe I represent a unique opportunity for lasting alliance, Director. Wells nodded as if this confirmed something she already knew. Have they treated you well? Yes, Lisa said. They have been respectful, but the truth needed to be spoken. They brought me here under false pretenses. Director, they want my genetic material to save their species from extinction. Morning arrived with all 3 suns of Valara Prime rising in sequence, painting the sky in colors Earth never witnessed. Lisa stood on the balcony of her quarters watching the alien dawn. Her decision made after a night of reflection, she dressed in the formal diplomatic uniform of Earth rather than the Valaran garments provided to her, a symbolic choice representing that she spoke as ambassador, not as potential genetic donor. The summons came as expected, Nira appearing at her door with formal ceremony. The Queen awaits in the Chamber of Confluence. Nira announced the council has gathered. Lisa followed her guide through the now familiar corridors of the palace. The Valaran architecture no longer seemed so alien to her eyes. The organic structures, the responsive materials, the subtle harmonics that filled the air, all had become, if not normal, then at least comprehensible during her weeks of education. The Chamber of Confluence was not the formal council room, but a smaller, more intimate space. The ceiling opened to the sky where the 3 moons would be visible when night fell. The Queen sat upon a simple chair rather than her throne. Prince Karam stood beside her. The Elder Council, arranged in a semicircle, their expressions unreadable. To human eyes, Lisa Carter. Ambassador of Earth, the Queen acknowledged as Lisa entered, her violet eyes intense but not unkind. Your preparation cycle is complete. Have you reached a decision regarding the genetic communion? Lisa stepped forward, standing, tall despite being dwarfed by the Valorans surrounding her. The past weeks had taught her that physical stature meant little among these people. It was presence of spirit they respected. I have, Your Majesty, she replied, her voice steady. I have studied your history, your genetic science, your culture. I understand now what you ask and why. The chamber remained silent, all attention focused on the human ambassador. Before I give my answer, I request the opportunity to speak freely. Lisa continued. The Queen made a gesture of permission. The right of voice is sacred among our people. Ambassador, speak your truth without reservation. Lisa took a deep breath, organizing her thoughts. When I came to Valara Prime, I felt betrayed, both by my own government and by yours. I was sent here under partial truths, given a mission whose true purpose was concealed from me. She looked directly at the Queen. Both our species have been guilty of manipulation, of using individuals as means to greater ends. My people sacrifice personal autonomy for technological advancement. Your people sacrifice transparency for genetic salvation. Murmurs rippled through the council, but the Queen raised a hand, silencing them. I have learned much during my time here, Lisa continued, not just about Valaran genetics, but about human diplomacy. I have seen how my own species values technological progress over individual rights, how decisions made by distant authorities affect those who must implement them. She glanced at Prince Karam, whose expression remained neutral. But I have also learned about Valaran philosophy, about confluence, about the patterns the universe creates. Lisa paused, gathering her courage for what came next. My answer comes in two parts. Your Majesty. First, as Ambassador Carter representing Earth, I propose a new form of alliance, one based on complete transparency and mutual respect. The genetic program you seek should be offered openly to compatible humans with full disclosure and fair exchange. Not hidden agendas, not diplomatic maneuvering, but honest partnership. The Queen tilted her head, considering Lisa's words. And the second part, Ambassador Lisa straightened her shoulders. As Lisa Carter, individual human being, I have made my own choice regarding genetic communion. The chamber grew completely still. The Queen leaned forward slightly, an unusual display of eagerness from the normally reserved monarch. I consent to participate in the genetic communion with Prince Karam. Lisa stated clearly, my choice is made freely with full understanding of the consequences. It is made not from diplomatic obligation, but from personal conviction that this confluence, as your philosophy names it, serves a purpose greater than any single individual relief. Visibly washed through the council, Prince Karam's skin brightened with what Lisa had learned to recognize as profound emotion. The Queen's posture relaxed almost imperceptibly, but Lisa raised her hand. I have conditions beyond those previously stated. The council tensed again, Elder Turan looking particularly concerned. Name these conditions, Ambassador, the Queen commanded. The child will hold dual citizenship. Lisa began both Valaran and Earth. They will be educated in both cultures, both histories, both perspectives. They will be free to choose their own path when of age, not bound by predetermined diplomatic obligations. The Queen nodded. These terms align with our hopes for the child. Lisa continued. Any knowledge gained from this genetic exchange will be shared equally between our worlds. Medical advances, biological insights, genetic therapies. All will benefit both species, not just Valaran Elder. Torin began to protest, but the Queen silenced him with a gesture. Agreed. The Queen stated, What? Else I will require residence on Valara Prime, Lisa said, but with regular return visits to Earth. The child should know both worlds, both peoples. I will not be separated permanently from my home. The Queen considered this request longer. The technical difficulties are substantial but not insurmountable. Our ships can be modified for human comfort for extended journeys. She nodded. We will ensure regular transit between worlds. Lisa took another deep breath before her final condition, the most important. Condition is this. The genetic communion creates a bond between participants, as Prince Karam explained. This bond must be recognized formally. I will not be merely a donor, a scientific subject, but an equal partner in this endeavor, with all rights and recognitions such partnership entails. The implication was clear. Lisa would not be used for her genetics, then discarded or relegated to secondary status. The bond with Prince Karam must carry social and political weight equivalent to Valoran. Unions, the queen rose from her seat, towering over Lisa. Yet somehow the gesture conveyed respect rather than intimidation. Ambassador Carter, your wisdom exceeds our expectations, the queen declared. Your conditions transform what began as scientific necessity into true alliance. The bond you describe is sacred among our kind. It has always been our intention to honor it fully. The prince will stand as equal partner, as will you. The child born of your union will indeed bridge our worlds, not merely genetically, but culturally, politically, spiritually. Relief washed through Lisa. She had feared the Valarans might accept her genetic contribution while minimizing her ongoing role. The queen's words confirmed her status would be preserved, her voice respected. The communion will occur at the next alignment of moons, the queen continued, 2 cycles hence. There are preparations, traditions to observe. Prince Karam will guide you. Prince Karam stepped forward, his eyes meeting Lisa's. His expression conveyed emotions that transcended species barriers. Gratitude, respect, and something deeper. Something neither human nor Valaran vocabulary fully captured. The formal audience concluded, Lisa found herself walking the crystal gardens with Prince Karam, their usual evening ritual now carrying new significance. Your decision honors us, the prince said after they had walked in comfortable silence. I feared you might choose to return to Earth, Lisa. Watch the strange plants respond to their presence. I considered it, but something your mother said during our first meeting stayed with me. She called me the beginning. I think she understood before I did that this was never about a single diplomatic mission or even a single genetic exchange. It's about evolution, not just biological but cultural. The next step for both our species, Prince Karam nodded. The wisdom in seeing beyond immediate circumstance to greater patterns. This is what my mother recognized in you, from our first encounter. They stopped beside the glowing pool that had become Lisa's favorite spot in the gardens. The first stars of evening appearing in the darkening sky. I have a question, Lisa said. One I haven't asked during all our educational sessions. The prince tilted his head in the gesture. Lisa had come to find endearing. Ask. What happens after? Lisa said softly. After the communion, after the child, after the genetic exchange proves successful or fails, what becomes of me, of us? She gestured between them. Of this connection, Prince Karam considered her question with typical Valoran thoroughness. In Valoran tradition, those joined by genetic communion remain bonded for life, he explained, not as property or obligation, but as connection. Our awareness of each other will deepen. We will sense emotions across distance, know wellness or distress, feel joy or pain in echo. But he paused, studying her expression. The human concept of love, as I understand it, remains a choice. A daily renewal of commitment beyond biology, beyond duty. Lisa smiled, appreciating his attempt to bridge their different understandings of relationship. The diplomatic answer, and your personal answer. She pressed. Prince Karam's skin brightened in patterns Lisa had learned indicated emotional vulnerability. I have studied humans extensively during my preparation for this mission. I have learned that your species values choice over destiny, individual will over cosmic pattern. Yet you also seek meaning, connection, purpose beyond rational explanation. She had never heard him speak so personally, so directly from his own perspective, rather than Valaran philosophy.